Supergirl's box office run was already a major setback for Warner Brothers. But now, something even more troubling is happening. The movie's digital release, which many believed would be its final chance to recover, is now facing fresh controversy. And instead of celebrating strong results, James Gunn has found himself defending the film once again. What's even more surprising is why he's defending it. Rather than talking about the early digital numbers, Gunn is blaming online fandom, boycott culture, and what he calls a rush to judge the movie before its digital run has had time to play out. But are those arguments convincing audiences? Or is this simply another round of damage control as questions continue to grow about the future of DC Studios? Let's break down exactly what James Gunn said and why his latest comments are creating another heated debate. Before we get started, if you enjoy Hollywood news, DC updates, and the biggest entertainment stories explained without missing the important details, make sure to subscribe to SubiiVerse and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest videos. As of July 31st, 2026, the conversation surrounding Supergirl has entered an entirely new phase. After struggling to meet expectations during its theatrical run, many believed the movie's digital release would provide Warner Brothers and DC Studios with an opportunity to regain some momentum. Instead, the film's early digital performance has sparked another wave of debate, with supporters and critics offering completely different interpretations of what's actually happening. In recent days, we've already seen Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav, Supergirl star Millie Alcock, and screenwriter Ana Nogueira publicly defend the film as criticism continued spreading online. Each of them has pushed back against claims that the project is underperforming, arguing that people are drawing conclusions far too early. Now, James Gunn has stepped into that conversation as well. His latest comments appear to be another effort to defend both the movie and DC Studios' broader strategy, insisting that the digital rollout shouldn't be labeled a failure after only a short period of time. Whether audiences agree with that assessment is another question entirely. One reason this discussion has become so intense is because many fans viewed the digital release as the movie's best chance to recover after a difficult theatrical run. For Warner Brothers, this wasn't just another release window, it represented an important opportunity to generate additional revenue, rebuild confidence in the project, and demonstrate that the film could still find a much larger audience outside theaters. However, according to many online discussions surrounding the movie, the early digital results haven't generated the turnaround that some expected. That has only increased the pressure on James Gunn and the leadership team at DC Studios. And that's exactly why Gunn's latest response has attracted so much attention. It's also worth remembering that Gunn himself previously revealed he reviewed the screenplay multiple times before production officially began. By his own admission, he went through the script on several occasions before approving it for filming. That decision is now being revisited by many fans who believe Supergirl failed to deliver on the expectations surrounding one of the first major projects in the new DC universe. For critics, this isn't just about one movie anymore. It's becoming a larger discussion about the creative direction of DC Studios and whether the leadership team is making the right decisions when choosing projects that are meant to shape the future of the franchise. Now, with questions surrounding both the theatrical performance and the digital rollout, James Gunn has responded directly to the criticism. According to Gunn, much of the negativity surrounding Supergirl has less to do with the movie itself and more to do with what he describes as modern fandom culture. He argued that many online communities have embraced boycott campaigns because they believe it gives them influence over Hollywood, suggesting that some people simply enjoy declaring projects failures before they've had enough time to prove themselves. Gunn also emphasized that digital releases don't succeed or fail overnight. In his view, these releases continue generating sales and rentals over weeks and sometimes even months, which is why he believes it's far too early to judge Supergirl's long-term performance based only on its opening days. He went on to argue that many of the headlines appearing online are driven more by emotion than actual patience, claiming that critics are rushing to create a narrative before the digital release has had enough time to fully play out. And that was only the beginning of what Gunn had to say. James Gunn believes a major reason behind the backlash isn't the movie itself. It's the way online fandom reacts to blockbuster releases. According to him, many people are too quick to label a movie a failure, especially during its first few days on digital platforms. He argued that digital releases have a much longer lifespan than theatrical releases, which means judging the film after only a short period doesn't paint the full picture. Gunn also suggested that some of the criticism has gone beyond the movie itself and turned into personal attacks against the people involved. He pointed to what he described as sexist and misogynistic comments aimed at Millie Alcock and screenwriter Ana Nogueira, saying that this type of behavior has become a growing problem within superhero fandom. In his opinion, creators should be judged by their work, not by online outrage campaigns. Another point Gunn made was that a movie's success shouldn't be measured only by revenue. He argued that while financial performance is important, the bigger goal is building a connected universe that pays off in future projects. According to Gunn, Supergirl plays a major role in setting up next year's Man of Tomorrow, particularly Kara Zor-El's future journey in the DC universe. He even defended Ana Nogueira's screenplay, calling it one of the strongest scripts DC Studios has received in years and saying he still stands behind his decision to bring it to the big screen. But this is where many critics completely disagree. Because from their perspective, if audiences don't show up in theaters or later on digital, it raises serious questions about whether the film actually connected with viewers. Many argue that for a blockbuster carrying such a massive budget, financial performance absolutely matters. They believe box office numbers, digital sales, and audience interest are all part of measuring whether a project succeeds or falls short. Critics also point out that Supergirl wasn't a small experimental movie. It was intended to become one of the foundation pieces of the new DC universe. And when a project of that scale struggles to attract audiences, it's natural for people to question the decisions behind it. But Gunn wasn't finished there. He had another explanation for why the movie's digital performance hasn't lived up to expectations. Gunn continued by suggesting that another factor could be affecting the movie's digital performance. According to him, it's currently the middle of summer, and many people are traveling, spending time outdoors or away from home. Because of that, he believes it's too early to assume the digital release has reached its full potential. He encouraged fans to give the movie more time, saying that audiences may discover it over the coming weeks and that Supergirl could eventually become a fan favorite within the DC universe. However, many critics aren't convinced by that explanation. They argue that the season itself isn't the issue. Over the past few years, plenty of movies have performed extremely well on digital platforms during the summer. In other words, successful digital releases aren't limited by the time of year. Instead, many believe the real reason is much simpler. Rather than paying to rent or purchase the movie right now, a large number of viewers may simply be waiting for it to arrive on streaming services where they can watch it as part of a subscription they already have. From that perspective, spending around $20 on a digital rental or purchase doesn't make much sense when the movie is expected to reach streaming in the near future. That's why some analysts believe streaming could ultimately attract a much larger audience than the digital release itself. At the same time, critics continue arguing that Warner Brothers and DC Studios are trying to shift attention away from the early digital numbers instead of directly addressing the concerns being raised. They point out that David Zaslav, Millie Alcock, Ana Nogueira, and now James Gunn have all made similar arguments, that it's simply too early to judge the film's performance. But for many observers, the comparisons with early digital sales from previous DC releases have only fueled more skepticism. Whether those concerns prove accurate or not will become much clearer over the next several weeks as more digital and streaming data becomes available. So what do you think? Do you believe it's still too early to judge Supergirl's digital release, or do you think the early numbers already tell the bigger story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like and turn on notifications for more Hollywood news, DC updates, and box office coverage. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.